Good evening, everyone. This is the select board meeting for July 25th of 2022. I'll read tonight's agenda. Under new business, we have Randy Reed here about the Riley Road. We need to review and set the 2022 tax rate. Approve July 11th meeting minutes, sign warrants, review and sign Hill Road culvert proposal. And is there anything else we need to add to the agenda?
Can we go to executive to talk about highway department?
Sure. We'll do that at the end of the meeting.
Yep.
I don't know protocols, but I had a question about the police contract.
Okay. Yeah, let's see, we gotta talk about that, so. Police contract.
So I had one question. I don't know. Wondering whether to take that, hook my house up to village sewer.
Okay. Alright, well, we'll start with Randy first.
Well, we've talked, and since
Yeah.
I've spoken with you, Steve,
Yeah.
a 28-foot box trailer got stuck halfway down that road, killed a couple maple trees, tore up some tubing. Got pictures.
What was it doing down there?
GPS took them out, it said.
Really?
I couldn't talk to the drivers because they're both Mexican, I think. I couldn't understand what they were saying, and they couldn't understand me, I guess. Then his bosses came with a pickup, and I asked them if they wanted me to grab a record real quick. They were totally 100% against that. So they jacked it up, and because I put 18 loads of stone down in the two holes that are down there, he made it move.
Yeah.
And I think pieces, because I could hear it scratching. I don't have any idea what was inside of it. But they were adamant that I did not call anybody.
Huh.
And obviously that's when I should have made a phone call. But it was too late. By the time I got the license plate number, we checked it, and it came off a white Ford Explorer stolen. So I really screwed up there. I just wanted him out of there. It made a mess. But we gotta do something with the GPS too, because a lot of cars get caught down there and they said, well, the GPS knows we can make it through. I'm like, as soon as you drive past that Y, that's like a no-brainer. Don't go any further, because the road is in pretty tough shape, other than where I fixed on it.
I'm surprised because that isn't even classified as a road. It's
Yeah,
a,
it shows a class 4
what
road.
is it?
I thought, you thought, Tom Horgan thought on his end that it was a trail,
But it is, it's,
class 4 road.
okay.
And I-
All the way through
All
Fairfield
the way
too?
through the Fairfield, right to Duffield. So, I put in, I don't know how much money into that road. I mean, we built the road going from, Cattell Road beyond our sugar house. We rented a bulldozer and pushed it in from permission from the selectmen way back when. I think Jody and Josh, they topped it with good stone, and we try to maintain that. Four-wheelers don't care.
No.
They drive by their house 50, 60 miles an hour, they drive by it. So if they get on the Y where the road is decent, that's when they feel like they can go as fast as they want. Few dogs, I don't know, there's 4 dogs there. Amy and Boone have 2 kids, Chelsea's got 2.5. One's there half the time.
I was curious how you were gonna
Wow.
classify.
Her partner brings goes in once in a while. But they're old enough where they're running around now.
Mhm.
And there was a guy checking in the road the other day. I don't know if Chelsea knows that or not. I put a lot of money in the road, just trying to maintain it so I can get through to do what I want on my land.
Yeah.
And those 2 holes on the other end that's so deep, people would go through it. So they jumped a stone wall and went into my property and made another huge mud pile there. They killed the tree there because they ran over the roots so many times, all the roots are showing. That tree is dying. It's in a, I've got pictures of all this too if you guys want to see it. TVs, refrigerators, pile of tires, 2 microwaves, a truck cap. And we go down there twice a year and sometimes fill up 2 Ranger box full of bottles and trash. Get to the point maybe the box truck or the Jeep that drove down the road turned up a four-wheeler trailer for maintenance of the tubing. He came off that with a friggin' Jeep, 100% on my end. It's a lack of respect. I think it didn't bother us so much before, didn't mind it. But picking up after people and the trash and disrespect, every neighbor on that property, even on Fairfield end, they want it shut down. I'm not to that point, I guess, I am, but not 100% shut down unless that's what you guys can do, I guess. Are you up to a legal trail?
I'm up to some type of regulation. I'm Amy Rouse and I live at Joey King's old place off 240 Riley Road. The biggest thing for us is I've called law enforcement 3 or 4 times because we've had four-wheelers doing at least 90 to 100 down the road. We have glass bottles in our yard that break when they get thrown from the four-wheeler, so it's just becoming a safety issue for us. And then we've had friends, family, and then service providers for our children that come to the house to help with some things. Try to take the road because it's their GPS takes them. That's the primary route. So I have to tell people now, make sure it's off Cattell Road because it's taking people off Duffy Hill coming from St. Albans to try to come through the trail, and somebody's going to get hurt, and that's our biggest concern. The big thing for me is the box truck, the Jeeps that we see a lot coming through, and the folks that are just going more than even 50 or 60. I mean, I think I called state police 2 or 3 times last summer because we had somebody doing wheelies that was just going so incredibly fast they're going to kill somebody or kill themselves. So I don't know, total shutdown, something has to change or happen, whether it's enforcement, signage, that's up to you folks to govern, but I just want to see something.
How much of that road is in Fairfield?
About half of it.
Half of it.
Yeah. It's about, from Cattell to the Fairfield line, maybe a little less than that. But I've spoken with Tom Morgan and Gavin Ryan, and they want to work with you folks, whatever you guys decide. They want to decide something. They get it.
Yeah.
They, Zach, I spoke with him, he's the manager of that Flax now. He sees a lot of stuff happening on that, and he cleans up pretty constant. And I guess they leave Roy's, but I don't know if I've spoken to Arnold Roy yet, but he's not happy either. He wants it completely shut down. And I don't know if I want to go with that route. I mean, a lot of people use it, running, walking, their dogs, horses, bikes. Don't want to stop that. Those type of
Yeah,
people.
but how do you control?
I don't know. I don't know. Hope you guys have it. I just hope you done it before.
With the person with the Jeep, did you confront them or?
Oh, yeah, you don't want to hear about it.
So you know who it is or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily know his name. I worked with him for, 3 months. He worked for Scott Goodhue. And I did a couple projects with Scott and he happened to be there. He didn't know it was my name. He didn't care.
Is it the same Jeeps? Because I've seen a
No, this
crew
is a
of 3 or
brand
4 of
new
them.
Cherokee. It was a beautiful rig and he came off the hill under a main line. The main line was scratching on top of this foot.
I think there's a few different groups because I've seen like 3 or 4 come through on a regular. I don't know who they are.
It didn't bother me so much. I shouldn't say. It always tickles me. But when they jumped the stone wall and started making that mud hole there, because listen, if you don't dare to go through it, turn around and go back the other way. Don't tear up somebody else's private property. It's already wetland. And I'm hoping, I don't think I'll get in trouble for it because I can just say it's a town road and they've been using it. I can't stop that. But they're not gonna get through there now. They've got stones this high. Or they can't. Or they'll make another hole, I suppose, on the other side. I don't know. But my tubing, they cut a wire off one of my mainline trunk systems to pull themselves out. I'm assuming because when I found the wire later, it was all coiled up on the side of the trail. So come on. Once you cut a trunk line system, once it's installed properly, you can never get it back. Unless you tear it all out and redo it because it doesn't stretch right and you got loops in the line. I mean, that's it. I don't know why you do that. So I have a field up there that I loaded my dump trailer and just kept hauling rocks just to fill the hole in so they would drive on the trail and not they still go through, but they didn't, like with the rocks, and they were still going around. And I had that road, and right now, because of the rain and everything, it was starting to button up tight where they could drove over it. Now it's just a mess again. The rocks are flying and it's starting to rut down again. I don't have that much money to just throw out to repair things for nothing.
No, but even Riley Road, we had, was it 2 years ago we had it regraded?
Yeah.
And then I think 2 days, Boone and I paid to have it regraded. 2 days later, somebody did wheelies at the bottom of the driveway and just destroyed everything we had paid to have done. So it's just, it's not sustainable the way it is.
I've done it.
So that is a class 4 road all the way up through, or is
All the way to the
it right
Fairfield.
from the beginning, right
That's
up to
the
the
goal.
tower? Okay.
And I didn't look at the map, I guess. But you thought it wasn't. Somebody else
Yeah,
thought it was just
I
a
thought it
trail.
was just a trail.
Tom and Gavin both thought it was a trail until we went to the town clerk to look at the map, and that's when I stopped here and went, it's class 4 road, I didn't realize that. But you know what a class 4 road entails?
Yeah.
I do. Which hasn't happened over 4 years, and I don't expect it, you know? I don't expect you guys to go out there and maintain it once a year for travel. Outside of the trip, you know? And even Gavin said that. You know, we're supposed to maintain that once a year for class 4, just to make sure there's travel losses. And culverts, you know, where the ditches are, supposed to be culverts in there. That's Fairfield ditch. And I said, you know, that's not something we expect, because I think everybody assumed that it was a trail. LT or a UD, unclassified something or whatever it's called. Which I could have went up there and closed it. And I didn't want to go that route. Then we find out it's class 4 and what I did. I don't know, it's frustrating. Every property owner right now wants it shut.
Good.
Fairfield Energy.
Because we have given up roads before,
Mhm.
and
I know the state,
it's a possibility, and
it is.
you know, it's
I think the state would rather see it maintain a legal trail status.
yeah, but that's
But the state also
they
wants
don't
everybody
have to
to
do
hunt
it.
your land because it's land. I never posted a piece of property until just a couple years ago. I went on my property and made that mess and broke some people down. And then I posted it. And I don't post property typically. Didn't want to.
Too bad. Well, the ones that are driving on are gonna care what it's supposed to.
No. And if people ask, I
That's-
let them hunt. But
You know, you
it's
could
just-
get 100 people to go through there, and 5 of them are gonna ruin it, for it, and it's not the other.
Oh, we could walk right now. I guarantee we could fill a mini dump truck out. Which, well, actually, probably one year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the signage would help if we did put signs up to keep people out?
You don't drive all the way through that road, right? You just go to the end of your land,
I own to Duffy Hill.
you don't own all the way through, so you wanna be a dump truck. I know we go over the mountains and some of them trails are 2 pipes right in the ground at 66 inches apart or whatever the legal 4-wheeler trail is, so no Jeeps or nothing else goes through them.
Yeah, but those are 4-wheeler trails through
Yeah.
private property. A class
Right,
4
but
road
it's-
is,
Town.
how wide's a class 4 road?
It's a regular
25, 30 feet.
Your right of way is the same as a typical road, and it can be, it's supposed to be passing by vehicle. They maintain once a year to maintain traffic flow, you know, except for winter months. But don't expect that, nobody really does. So a couple years ago, guys from Brompton, I caught them. They were tearing up the edges of the road, which plugged up the ditches and the water was going everywhere. And he kept doing it like every weekend, and I was never around when I caught him. Chasing down until they broke the front axle on their Jeep. Found out where they were from and told them, you know, I would suggest you don't come back. Because they made a mess. It took me 2 weeks to clean that up, to get ditches back in so the water was going in the proper spot, so they just ruined the road. But I didn't say nothing, that was gone, they forgot about it, but it's like every year something stupid happens, that creates a problem.
The GPSs are a huge problem right now.
How do we stop that?
I don't know.
Can we contact them up there?
How do we stop them going through the notch? 'cause
Well,
that's-
I don't.
So do they,
Yeah.
are they saying it's actually GPS or are they saying they Google it?
It's
Well,
yes.
Because Google, you can report
Yeah.
that they have stuff wrong because in 2020, everybody kept looking for Fairfield Pond Beach and Google brought them to our camp.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah, so you can, they say, you can go into Google and suggest this is not a road that they should be using and then they'll research it and.
The Mexicans said it was, because they showed me the phone, oh, GPS. Yeah, I don't know.
You said what you do, what, it might take you to change it to GPS for you guys.
That would help that portion.
I will check on that, I don't know how that.
The other stuff, I don't know. how we fix it.
I don't believe the GPS isn't gonna help the track.
No,
Damage.
the trash and the damage, the disrespect. Nobody has any consideration anymore, it seems like.
Yeah.
That's on all town roads.
Huh?
That's on all our town roads.
I know that. Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
If anywhere you go, there's trash and beer cans.
Well,
There's something to touch base.
Yeah.
I am gonna pursue, I think. I know the neighbors want to, but the other two that wanted, they wouldn't come because they're from the Fairfield side.
Do you have pictures of all the ATVs that are the most havoc?
Oh, I can take pictures of ATVs pretty easily. I'll put my camera up, but I got pictures of the damage in the box truck.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. And the trash down the other end, which I'm trying to clean up now. Actually, I'm just gonna put it off to the side right now. I don't wanna do anything. I'm not gonna do or say anything to anybody when they come by and do whatever they're doing, but like, my man can only take so much.
Alright, well,
The Jeep, well, that's a whole different story. That was a mess. You know. Not good reason on my end.
well,
It was the same day my father had to show up on the hospital, that's why I was up there trying to get away from people. And I get down there, there was heat coming off my mountain. I was like, what? Yeah, what's going on here? So yeah, I worked. The Jeep wasn't the reason we left, by the way. So now we know, and I work with it. Well, you can drive it on the other end and just see how much work I actually have put into it and how bad it is now. All the rocks that you see in the holes were put in from me, just to stop the mud
yeah.
issue. And down there, I still got some work to do, I'm gonna fix it, so it's, at least I can travel it. So I own the half the road, really. So when it's closed, I can still get to my property on the other end of it. And that's the other issue, what do we do? Like, I guess I gotta talk to these folks. If it's completely closed, that means my section from Patel to my land is pretty much locked. Because they own it. Unless we do some sort of right away with us.
Something like that already.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause you're gonna put a gate on the other side somehow, or
Yeah.
something on your side, just keep them out with it.
And again, I'm not looking to shut the road down. There's bikers, runners, horses. That's fine, that's great. The Jeeps and the, do I have a Ranger and a four-wheeler? Yeah, I use them for work in the woods.
Yeah.
I don't go traveling all over the country and world, and if I had time, I'd totally would, because it is enjoyable. But it's just not something I.
it'd be one thing if you're traveling to be respectful.
Yes.
And there are some that do, like
There's
there are
some
some that
great
are
people.
great that travel through, it's the ones that
Yeah, but it's the rotten apples that spoil the basket.
are, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you got a good thing, why would you try to ruin it, you know? The traveling on mine really just, when I went down there and saw that mess, and I had a posted sign right in the middle of the road, because this started 2 years ago, after the Jeep came down and then they pulled the fire off my thing. So I put a post sign right there, well, that was disappeared, and now you gotta actually walk up and look at it. It's not, the pictures do not do justice for what that place looks like. Property. I'm not the only person in Sheldon that has that issue either.
No. Still frustrating.
Yeah. All right, just wanted to
Okay.
Get started.
Yeah, we'll try to throw some things around, see what we can figure out.
Good.
Maybe we'll talk to Fairfield and see what their thoughts on it are.
Gavin and Tom right now, like he said, they may bring it up at the meeting tonight. I'm still kind of hopeful. And they both thought it was a trail too. I'm sure, apparently something got missed, but I remember that being in process of being a legal trail.
I think I remember it too. Was Mr. Flack trying to do it for the people hiking?
I don't think it was Doug. He only owns just a little tiny piece of the right of way in there. The rest of it is somebody else. But they were in process. I don't know if it was Sandy Cow was here or what went on, but it was, I know Fairfield and Sheldon were in process of putting a legal trail, and that's when I assumed it was. Never looked at it since.
Yeah.
Just the other day when I stopped in South Bend, because I saw the map up there, I'm like, not the right map, came down here, sure enough, it's a Gloucester Road. So that changes everything.
Yeah.
And if you can leave it
But
like it is.
It actually might make it easier if we wanna shut it down.
Yeah.
Because if it's a road, we can petition to throw it up.
Yeah.
Or a trail, I don't know, that's why I asked him to contact the attorney about.
Trails are
what
difficult.
procedures are and stuff, and
And I get
I did
trails.
come down to the office and I asked him to call the attorney to find out
Yeah.
about what we could do or what needed to be done, and I talked to Seth about it, but I'm glad to stop tonight, though, so we'll get
Just
some more on
curious.
something.
Oh yeah, I got pictures. Oh, I got all kinds of documents of what happened out there in the last 10 years.
No, and that kind of stuff's happening all over, you
Yeah.
know, the trash, it's just a disrespect,
Yeah.
and if it wasn't for that, it probably wouldn't be so bad. you
The
know.
trash and the going off the property wouldn't be so, or
Yeah.
it's slowing down.
And
if they
so,
drive
yeah,
through like
for-
normal
have a little
people.
respect for other homeowners, yeah.
It wouldn't be an issue. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind maintaining part of the trail like I do, just, you know, I don't like seeing mud like that, it affects it big time. 70-horse tractor and it was up above halfway of the wheels, the water. 2 spots, one, it was deep. 18 dump yard loads of stone, that's what it got. And I need more,
Yeah.
but my metals are getting clean, so that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see you.
Alright, we'll discuss that some more, discuss and see what we can come up with. So what is it you guys are looking for?
Sort. No, sort.
You don't have it?
No, it was gonna get put in when we did our house, town wanted us to put it in. And then they were like, well, it's gonna cost $10,000 to get a manhole over here across the new paved parking lot of the church. Just like, well, if you don't care, then I'll just put it in the septic right now for myself, because that was only gonna cost $2,000. It don't seem to work that great there in the dirt.
No.
We've got issues with it.
Does it go to your tenant account, the rental?
They each have their own, we just have leach fields.
Alright,
If you wanna put both
cause I
on,
don't think it goes to.
we wanna just do
the
your house or do both of them?
Might as well do both. I mean,
Yeah,
I would only just do my new house right now, not the other one, because that one works fine, but I mean, if it's gonna come through and I have to hook up, then I guess I would.
You know what you ought to do, Tom?
What?
Buy that van from Homer there and we'll run it right across 105.
I'll shoot him, you probably shoot me.
You're on camera. Because he came in to see us about running the sewer
Yeah.
line over there.
I know he wants to.
But
15 years
if,
ago.
you know, if he would guarantee he was gonna build 30 houses over there, we'd probably do it, but we couldn't see the cost effectiveness of running a line over there and having to build one house every 20 years so he has the right to pump up to the boarding house. But we did, I know Gilbert did a study on running a line over through there, and I think it would have caught yours and those other houses in the meantime.
It stops at the church.
We can look into that though, I think, he's on vacation right now, isn't he? I'll talk to him as soon as he gets back.
But if they can go as far as like my driveway and get the first manhole and there, I don't know. You know, work with you, even if I had help on the price, whatever, I don't need to do something.
Well, you'll give us a sewer payment every
Yeah.
quarter
Every quarter
for the rest of your life. But, yeah, we can look into that for you guys, so. And it might be something if we do design it, we'll have it so that it's got the right grade to keep going there. I expect someday somebody's gonna develop that up over there.
Yeah.
I would hope so. I mean, it's a perfect spot to put houses for the town.
Yep.
But, you know, who knows? I know the neighbor on the other side of the road talked about it there for a while, but nothing ever came of that either, so.
I mean, even if they had to go around the back side of the church, well, that's where the church dumps in right here. We just had issues this year. But even if they had to come down the old right-of-way road, go across my front of my house, I don't care.
Yeah, isn't there in between the church and that other house on the hill there, isn't there a right of way through there or something?
Between my house and the trailer.
Your house and
The old road.
That must
Yeah,
be, is that the
road.
church's right away there?
Sure.
But doesn't that, where does that go? It goes all the way down to Mill Street or? The old
No.
road?
Well, it's church parking lot, it's the back side of the church parking lot.
Yeah,
And once they get behind our house, that's the corner of their land, and then they have a 300-foot long right-of-way that takes to 105.
yeah.
So they could have a driveway right there if they wanted. If
They
they
won't,
wanted.
yeah. They won't do a driveway because it's
Yeah.
not wide enough, it's
Yeah,
not
but I mean,
state
just like
regulation, but they can always run a sewer line around the church if they didn't want to go across the parking lot, I don't know, out behind.
Yeah. Well, when Huber gets back, we'll look into that.
Yep.
We can see what we can do.
Cause everything yours goes out the back, right, Tom? I presume,
My leach fields are up front of my house,
on the upper side?
right toward 105.
Or- Okay.
Like the corner of Shawville and 105, not that way.
I've driven by it enough time, I should know, but some of those you don't really
My pool's in
pick
front of
it.
it. My pool's in front of the house, leach field's actually real trail side.
Okay, good.
Where the nice tall green grass. That's
Yeah.
the lawn being done, and right there, it's like a hay field.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. So. You're here about police contract?
Yeah, so I don't know if I know everybody, but my name is Lori Oliver, I live out on Sweet Hollow Road, and I'm aware that the contract with Franklin County Sheriff's Office expired on June 30th. And just for the record, wanted to understand what hours, if any, that they actually allocated to our contract for the July 1st of 21 through 6/30 of 22. And then just sort of what the current status of our police services are outside of any state police response that we may get in the event of any incident.
Well, Matt, you know more about this than we do, I think. You can speak on it.
For the 2021, I'm not sure if that's something that, for the hours, if that would be something to look at the billing history to see what they billed us for.
You can just go, first start with what they contracted with.
We contracted, well, I mean, we budget $35,000 a year for police services. I believe with the quote they gave us last year, it was somewhere in the 10-hour-a-week range.
Yeah, I think it was like
hours.
520 hours for the contract.
Right, the first time we did it, it was 12 hours, then it went down a little bit the second year. And really, I forget what month it was, where we started to notice that they were not billing. We had issues up on Crow Hill that we discussed. we found out that they were unable to fulfill the hours of the contract due to staffing issues. So we brought it up at the meeting. And we pretty much left it at, because we were close to, we'd already budgeted for the money, we were just gonna let this contract run out. If they were able to fill any of the hours remaining on the contract, it was what it was, but obviously we were not thrilled with the breach of contract.
And I'm not sure if, so it doesn't sound like.
So basically, I'm gonna say like November, December, something like that. They basically notified us that, we noticed that they weren't billing us. Kim reached out to them to ask why they weren't billing us, multiple occasions, and then finally, we got an email from Roger, correct me if I'm wrong at all, that basically said that he did not have enough staffing to provide the service that he needed for our town. So we had not been covered for the last 3 months when we thought we had been covered. And we'd been having multiple reports of incidences at a certain location and telling them to call the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department is telling us to call them, and they're not doing anything with it. Basically, we were not being covered. So at that point, we were like, it's a breach of contract. We're gonna allow them to provide a service if they show up and they come to the town, but we're not expecting anything. And with him being done in 6 months, we're not really sure who we're gonna go with next because we haven't done anything yet, if I'm correct.
Right, and the reason that we went that initially was because when we had initially did our RFPs with Vermont State Police and with City PD, they were not willing to allocate for a full-time officer for the $35,000 that we had budgeted. So essentially it would have been, they would have had to pay one of their officers time and a half, and the hours would have been available on like an overtime schedule. The Sheriff's Department was willing to work with us with the budget that we had and allocate hours, and they were fulfilling it the first year. And then, like Seth mentioned, when the staffing issues happened, there was a lapse in communication with the town. They weren't able to fulfill their contract. And it ran out June 30th. We still have the $35,000 budgeted. But that still leaves us with, the prospect of having to pay either City PD or VSP if they would be willing to do it, time and a half on an overtime calendar, hoping that there's an officer who takes those shifts, but it's not concrete hours for the town.
Well, I guess one of my concerns is that Sheriff Langevin was on record in a meeting on April 13th with the St. Albans, I think it's the Police Advisory Board, saying that we don't owe anybody, this is a quote, we don't owe anybody any time. And if what I'm hearing is that he owes Sheldon time under our contract. So that statement was not true in the sense that we had a contract with the Sheriff's Office and they did not fulfill that. But it concerns me that he's on record saying that he's fulfilled his contracts when we've allocated $33,000-ish to that contract, which is not done.
Correct.
So I would advocate that we make sure that that statement has been corrected, if that's really the case. But I don't know, as a citizen of Sheldon, resident of Sheldon, so $33,000 is not a full-time person, but how do we, as a town, understand what need we have for police services and what does that look like going into the next budget cycle? Because our resources are limited, not everybody has all the money to put towards potentially more money for contract services, but I'll be the first one to admit I'm not quite sure sort of how we move forward from here, because we've all seen the news and know different people that there's just not a lot of extra police services available to fulfill their current contracts, let alone any additional ones. So I just don't know how we move forward from here. It's good to know that we don't have any other existing contracts, so state police is our main coverage, but just what do we do from here?
Options, we contacted Highgate 2 years ago, I want to say, because initially we had a full-time officer between Highgate and Sheldon, I believe, at the same price, which is how we arrived back at $35,000. What was the?
No, it wasn't at the same price.
It was.
We reduced, when we were at the same price, I believe the contract was $65,000
Yeah, we reduced it.
per town.
Per
Sheldon paid 65,
Right, but we got
And
20
Highgate-
hours a
and we
week.
paid, and we got 20, where depending on which town had things happening, if more things were happening in Highgate got the 10 hours
Right.
or vice versa. That's how the contract worked. And then we reduced the budget to 35, I think it was.
Yeah.
We reduced to 35, and that's where we got part-time hours, 10 hours a week.
Well, because it sounds like there's definitely need in different places, and you mentioned something, Pearl Hill not, I guess, too long ago, so I don't know what the overall need for the town is. I can certainly say on Sweet Hollow Road, we see lots of racetrack type activity with people stupid driving, and it would be nice to have some sort of coverage around there as well, but, that's just my own personal thing, but I just don't know what our broader needs are as a town. But I don't know, going into this next budget cycle. I certainly don't wanna pay any more taxes than what I have to. If we're not gonna get services, then I don't wanna pay taxes on something that we're not getting. So I just wanna make it known that I would be willing to work with someone about how we move this forward and try to figure out what
I
our
think
needs are.
our biggest hurdle right now is there's no choices out there. And like I said, the state police are too busy, they don't want to spend time staffed here. When we were in negotiations with Highgate, I was on the board with Jack and Greg, and we started talking with them because we could get a 7-day-a-week coverage between the two towns. And so we were willing to put out that $65,000, and then that kind of went away, because Highgate went with the city for a while. But there's not there's not a whole lot of choices, it's either Franklin County Sheriffs or the state police. I don't think the city police has enough staff to go out to do other towns anymore. I think they've given most of that up.
Well, I would be reluctant under the current leadership or administration if they left us high and dry in this current contract, that I'm not sure that I would be willing to enter into anything else with that same administration if they can't guarantee in some way that they can provide those services.
Yeah, and we aren't the only town that he did that to, but
He's on record saying he doesn't owe anybody anything, so.
yeah, I guess he didn't bill us for it, but he didn't fulfill his contract either, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and as a resident of Sheldon, I would maybe suggest that maybe as a select board that you consider some sort of communication to, I don't know how we do that, maybe it's through meetings like this or some other, I don't know how we send notices out to our residents, but letting them know that we don't have police services, and maybe it's a meeting and trying to understand what does the town want as we establish a budget going forward, because if you can get input from people saying,
That would
we're willing to put more money in, or we're just not gonna do it.
would probably be a good discussion for town meeting. I don't know
If we
we wanna s-
have one and.
I don't know if we wanna send out flyers and tell all the people around that we don't have any coverage, but I think.
Well, I agree, but then I
Keep
also,
it,
as
mean,
a
it's been-
taxpayer.
Yeah, no, I know that.
It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
If you don't wanna spread the news that,
We don't
Come
wanna
to Sheldon.
advertise that it's free for all in Sheldon right now, but,
yeah. And I understand that concern, so I just think it's, how do we somehow let people know what it is that we thought we want, what we aren't able to get because of the current circumstances, and then how do we do something going forward or not? So,
yeah, I think it'd definitely be we're gonna do some more research on it here for the summer, because this contract did run out, but I guess
We can have it on the website right now, just to call 911.
yeah, so I don't know if people would be, if I were at the sheriff's office, wouldn't wanna continue to get calls from Sheldon residents if they're really not providing those services, so. So, thank you for listening, that's all I had.
Okay.
I appreciate your time, thank you.
Thanks,
Lori. Thank you, Lori. So. Start signing stuff.
You can go at the end.
Okay.
That works. Oh, ooh, that's exciting. Here we go.
No, I don't think there's any in there. Oh, that's just our insurance.
Well, that's no fun. That's quick and easy. Yeah. That's quick and easy. To show the numbers for us to look at for the tax.
Yeah. That's how, isn't it? It's nice, but how?
How?
The school rate went down,
Yeah, I see that.
ours went up,
Yeah. But the overall
yeah,
is down.
overall's down,
Yeah.
what? 2.25, 2.7.
Down is down.
It's just down. That's all that matters.
Because of our, the way we do our personal property, that increases our grand list. So when big companies have high inventory, grand list goes high. So that could affect us both ways. We think we're gonna have a good year. Their inventory could be low, so the grand list is low.
But overall,
But this year overall,
It's not expected it to go.
no. When I opened up this is not what I expected to see.
Yeah, well,
Well, I feel a lot better.
not good.
So our major concern wasn't a major concern.
and it still is,
Always.
because we still owe it, that's what we're collecting, but we still,
What,
that's what
Alex?
we're saying we're collecting, but we're still gotta pay out of that.
But I still feel there's sunshine there. Like, I still-
But not as bad as we thought.
Okay.
Nowhere near as bad as I thought.
Yes, okay, I'm just,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, that state, that, government money that we got, when do we have to have that spent by?
We don't have to,
We don't have to spend it?
I,
You already did?
no. No, I didn't.
Everybody gets down to
It, when we had the choice to put it, to expend it into a project or just bring it into our general budget as. So
Okay,
then we can spend it where we want it as needed.
alright, so there's no deadline on that?
Mm,
Okay,
I still have to report on it.
yeah, you have to. Tell them what
It
you
doesn't
plan
have
on.
to be one certain project. You all shake your head.
Huh?
You all shake your head when you look at
Yeah,
that.
looks good. Everybody saw that, buddy?
So, where did that paper go with the tax rate? Take a motion on that. So this.
Number we wanna look at is on our budgeted outline. That's the budget amount.
Okay.
The education, we don't have any control over, but it's the municipal line that we have to have, make sure we can cover.
What are those?
So I need a motion to set the tax rate for 2022. We have some numbers in front of us. Everybody seen these numbers?
Yes.
Is there any discussion on these numbers? It would be the non-homestead education of 1.5961, homestead education of 1.3343. Local agreement is 0.0016 and municipal is 0.5092. Motion to accept these numbers.
I'll make the motion to accept the numbers as.
A second on that.
I'll second it.
Alright, is there any other discussion on this, or is everybody good with us? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, we have the tax rate set. Can you print out our bills tomorrow?
They will go out
You see the
August 10th.
Okay.
I
Alright,
don't think there's a
where's the meeting? I'll read the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Select Board Water Commissioner meeting minutes from July 11th of 2022. Here at the town office, present was Stephen Dodd, David Pluget, Joe Dunleavy, and Kim Dufresne. 7:30, I opened the meeting and read the agenda. Addition made to go into executive session to discuss highway trucks. Mike Johnston from the Planning Commission discuss the town land, Northeast Wilderness Land Trust presented options for use of the property. The planning committee voted to leave the land as is for a recommendation for us. We kind of tabled that because there was only 3 of us here, so we said we'd discuss it more with full board. solar project on the Danielle Road. Planning committee discussed questions they had with Jake Clark from Encore Renewable Energy about noise pollution, land use change from agricultural to commercial, and setback distances. Jake will get back to the board with answers to these questions. Northwest Regional will be attending the next planning commission meeting to review grant for the town plan. I spoke with Seth Cattell. He was getting quotes to install guardrails on Sheldon Heights, Cook Road, Main Street, and to replace some guardrails on Church Street. And we talked a little bit about replacing the ton truck. He got one quote for some equipment. He was gonna get some more, I guess. Sign warrants 22-26 and 22-27. David discussed installing markers on the box culvert on East Sheldon Road by Smitty's Repair Shop. We reviewed quotes for the Hill Road culvert. We reviewed and signed the grant for the Hill Road culvert. I read the meeting minutes from June 27th meeting. David motioned to accept as read, and I seconded it. All in favor? We signed a zoning agreement with Northwest Regional Planning for fiscal year 2023. David motioned to go into executive session, seconded by Joe. All in favor? We discussed maintenance on the highway trucks. We exited executive session at 8:45. And Joe motioned to adjourn, seconded by David. Meeting adjourned at 8:45. Take a motion to accept these minutes as read.
I'll make a motion.
Alright, a
I'll
second.
second it.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I talked to Seth again today about this. He's been speaking with this guy on that East Engineering there.
The Hill Road.
Yeah, Hill Road stuff. He wants to get going on that, so we need to sign this. Engineering proposal agreement. Sounds like, concrete box culvert's gonna be the way to go. He said there's some cheaper ways to get out of it, I guess. He said we could put a steel one. He'd wanna test the soil there, to make sure it's not gonna eat it out, rot out. So that's kinda what happened to that one that's there, right? Or he said there's another design you could go, but didn't think it would hold up as good. So, kinda, he wants us to go with a concrete box culvert, I guess. He thinks that would be the best thing for the buck in the long run. We wanna have him draw up the design, we can look at it before we buy, you know, he's gonna, Seth said he's gonna do, you know, the design and the permitting. He's gonna get the right of way and the easements, and he would do the bid and the construction part of it, he does the whole package, I guess. So I guess after he's got the design done, we can look at it and make sure that's what we wanna do there. So I need a motion to accept this, his cost, he's got his cost here. 15,000 lump sum to design and permit it, $125 an hour to make sure the right of ways and easements are all, if assistance is needed or requested by the town or their attorney or the landowner, he would help with that part of it. And then the bid and the construction phase would be an $8,000 lump sum. He'd like to get going on it so he can get it out to bid for next summer's projects, I guess.
Is there still grant money for that project? Or no?
That's the $200,000 grant is for that installation of that.
Yeah.
But that isn't the installation also,
You know, this is just
that's just the
PG
issue.
engineering. But we signed their grants for the
Right,
other stuff.
through the state, looks like.
So do I have a motion to accept this proposal?
I'll make a motion.
Or any discussion on it, any questions anybody wants, or I'm sure about, or? Are you guys good with it? I read it through last meeting, and then I thought it's got a motion to sign it, but I guess I did.
I don't have any questions with it or concerns with it. I think it'll limit how long the road's closed for and the quickest, should be the quickest, easiest way to get the old one out and then and be back running.
Yeah.
And it's the one that's should last the longest.
Yeah.
So, even if we have to pay a little bit more, because those are all other things that are,
Alright, no longer on the spring.
yeah.
That's what we want. Alright, so do I have a second on that?
Yeah, I'll make a second on that.
Alright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'll sign that. So on that Riley Road, after speaking with Randy, and what's you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, sounds like if we don't turn it back into a trail, then we don't really need to do some work on it.
And I wonder if that'll help if we make it better. It's not gonna slow anybody down or stop the traffic.
Maybe go faster.
Right, would make it better.
Doesn't sound like they really want the road to get much better because
If it goes down to a trail, does that make it just for bikes, horses, or is it still open for ATVs, a legal trail?
What's,
no, the way
The
the
ATV.
ordinance is written is not trails, it's just roads. Yeah, roads. Doesn't say, 'cause we had that discussion about the other trails before we did. A lot of the trails are on private land.
Yep.
And so we didn't feel we had to give that up, even though it's an existing trail that's been there for, maybe some people before they owned property. The way it's
Is there
written-
on class 4 road, there's that? I came and looked at that day, I talked to you.
I know, Hubert brought it up, he's like, I don't
The Riley Road, part of it, on this map right here, is classified used, which is impassable or untraveled,
untraveled, and then you go up there and look at your number.
18. And it's a class 4 for .40,
And that's what's in Sheldon,
but I don't know, is that .40 the whole thing?
Sheldon's portion.
That's Sheldon's portion that,
Almost half a mile.
Then we hit the
Yeah,
town
it's the
line.
Fairfield line.
then it goes to Fairfield. And there it is, Town Highway 17.
I know we did, we shut down a few roads in town, but it was for different circumstances. One was because it went to one house on
So
a off the Raceville Road,
that's
and
it.
it was
Yeah.
a pain for the
You look at
town
this,
guys to plow.
basically to where his house is.
Plow, and it just went to the
And then after
driveway,
that,
the other
it's-
was
we got
It's
Plus-
Sugar House, this is the Sugar House.
off Duffy
So
Hill,
what I'm
at
saying
Burns
is
Road.
probably about
That
sure
went to
that's
one
one
house.
Because now we're
You
here.
know, it was no longer a running farm, so they didn't get enough truck up there every day. And
Untraveled. You know what I mean? Like if you look at it, this
we did the hearings about it, you have to post it, and we had a hearing. He came in with an attorney, and then in the end, he was like, good, you know, I got a private drive, and nobody can drive up in there anymore. Because you used to be able to, anybody could just drive right up there, so it was town road.
Yeah.
But there was, when you drove up that road, you ended up right in the front yard, or right around his barn there. So that, you know, those were different circumstances than this, but, you know, I guess if you threw up the road there, which we don't maintain in front of those homeowners anyways, they've been maintaining it all along, then they could, you know, Randy could put a gate right past the last driveway, I guess, just to get to a sugar house. And then it would, you know, it would stop people from going up through there, I guess.
Is that something you have
I didn't
to,
wanna meet people gone up through there for a year, I mean, I used to go up through there when I was a kid, you know, but dirt bikes or jeeps or whatever. But, I was under the understanding it was a trail, but I guess it doesn't really make any difference, trail or a road, you know, when people are making a mess of it and throwing their trash, and you gotta do something about it, you know, I don't know the right thing to do for it, but you gotta do something.
but do we have to make that decision with the town of Fairfield? This is a.
Is
Yeah,
that
we'd
what
have
you're,
to
that's a
make sure they're okay with it, because it goes through, so both towns would have to agree on it, 'cause it says right in here on the, it's just reading the procedures for throwing up a road. And it says if it goes into another town, it has to be okayed by them too.
So both boards have to go yes on it.
Yeah. So, yeah, or I don't know, or do we talk to Vasa and ask them to make it a four-wheeler trail and tell them to maintain it and keep them off the landowner's land, or else they're gonna shut it down? You know, if four-wheelers are going through there, it's town property, right? We could allow Vasa to set up a trail through there, maintain it, and make sure they have signs or whatever they need to do to keep off the landowner's land, or we shut it down. I don't know how many four-wheelers go through there on a regular basis. I haven't been through there in 2-3 years, but, yeah, I don't know what the best answer is. It's just that Randy's fed up, he stopped last week to see me in the morning, one morning, and, well, right after our Monday night meeting, that Tuesday morning, he stopped. And he was, you know, he'd been hauling stone to try to fill in that hole to maybe keep him on the trail, and he was frustrated, and I don't blame him,
No, there's a real,
you know, but I'm not sure what the best thing to do with it is.
I wonder if it'd be good to reach out to Fairfield and see if they would have Vassar, do they have any four-wheeler stuff in?
No.
They have nothing.
Yeah, that's true, so they don't have any, their roads aren't open to four-wheelers really, so they wouldn't want Vassar in there, that wouldn't work, okay, so I never even thought of that, but, yeah, so I don't know. Can the town put up a gate on there?
I don't think so, if it's a road.
Cause it's a road.
I mean, it'd probably be worth, how many Sheldon residents are on that, that are affected by that? Is it just 2 or 3?
There's 3 houses there, and then there's Randy Sugar.
There's only 2 houses on that road.
No,
was it
The other
2?
house
So
comes
that's
off
2,
on
there's
the
2.
top.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the other comes off, so there's 2 houses in that road.
And Randy's Sugar House, and they're all 911, so I don't know how that works with his Sugar House.
The Sugar House is a 911 address.
But if you look at like that 2021, it's basically just past the sugar house where it turns unpassable, intravelable, you know, like comparing it to that map to that map, that's kind of like. Roughly, I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
I'm not saying 100% scale, but it's close.
Yeah, I guess I think it'd be worth talking to Fairfield and see what their side of the road wants to do with it.
Do we further intermediate, just get some signage? I don't know, sorry, I was looking at that, did you guys discuss that, just cause it can't hurt, I mean, we're
You
not,
can definitely get a speed sign.
get speed sign, get some,
GPS one. How we draft the GPS because now programming in their actual from the
Yeah, I know somebody who knows a lot more about that stuff, but I mean, stuff to move GPS.
It must be
So I'll
through
talk
the
to them.
911 addressing. I don't know how you get to the GPS part of it.
I wonder if we just had some no through traffic or not a through road, might get somebody to,
Pay attention, not go through.
might,
yeah,
and,
within the 4 minutes might look at it too.
but, I mean, I don't think you're gonna stop that yet.
It sounds like there's some regulars.
Yeah.
So, they're not gonna,
Right,
the
as,
sign's not gonna stop them probably.
as long as we keep the box trucks out, that's probably what Randy wants.
Maybe you want to go to the box truck, you know?
Was it a Windows truck?
No, I'll wait that one's dropped.
Missing one. I mean, I would start with some signage, I mean, that's the, I don't wanna say the, it's not an easy fix, but it's the quickest to try to curtail the honest person. Does that help?
I mean, when you asked him if any signs would help, he said flat out no.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, it's not gonna make him feel any better if he puts.
No, it's not gonna help, but it's, we're at least trying,
Yeah.
starting.
Understand.
We're acknowledging his,
But I think it'd be,
Roy's over there, they're in Fairfield, not sure. They're.
I would say the only thing they wouldn't wanna do it is if you're doing any development, because it's a class 4 road, you have greater development rates.
Yeah.
Not on Randy's end, but on your end. I don't know what that land is. I don't know what it is over there.
Well, there's nothing stopping us from having the conversations with Fairfield to see if that's even an option and then point from there.
You wanna do that?
Yep.
Got time?
yeah, I get time.
There. Try to figure something out here.
You want to set up a meeting or just, when we discuss it with them, see what they're,
Just see what if they've gotten any flack from that end besides Randy and, or what their thoughts on that. I mean, if they're not allowing four-wheelers on their roads, they probably don't want to make it more enticing for four-wheelers to go through there, but,
sounds like they're going through there anyway, though.
well, they have for years,
Yeah.
so. I don't think they're gonna chase them down, but I'm sure they're not gonna want us to fix it up and sign it up so that more of them come through there. Yeah, talk to them, and see if they got any suggestions on what the best thing to do with that road is, cause like I said, half of it's in their property, you know, in their town. I don't know if they have more traffic coming through from that way, or it's more coming up through because of those houses there, but. Alright. We got this. We've covered, we got the tax rates, approve those meeting minutes. Yeah, I think we're ready for the motion to go into executive.
I'll make a motion.
Anybody doesn't have anything else?
Make a motion to enter executive session and the meeting.
Alright, we get a second on that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, we will go into executive session, and when we resume the meeting, we're going to adjourn for the evening.